Guys, welcome back to the channel Nate's Pink Bookshelf. My name is Naze for those of you who are new to the channel or who just happen to stumble across this video. And as the title says, this is going to be another book review for a phenomenal book. And the book I will be reviewing is The Name of All Things by Jenn Lyons. This is a sequel, so if you haven't seen my first review on The Ruin of Kings, click the eye to go to that video because I will be spoiling things from book one because I have to review this book. So yeah, but this is the second book in the A Chorus of Dragons series, which I believe is going to be a 5-book series, and it is an adult epic fantasy series, which is phenomenal. So I'm actually going to quickly read some things on the back for you guys to give you a synopsis, and we'll get into my thoughts and things like that. So on the back it says, you can have everything you want if you sacrifice everything you believe. Karen Zaman is a wanted man. Since he destroyed the Stone of Shackles and set demons free across Kor, he has been on the run from the wrath of an entire empire. His attempt to escape brings him into the path of Janelle Therian, a mysterious Jortese woman who claims to know Kieran. Janelle's plea for help pits Kieran against all manner of dangers: a secret rebellion, a dragon capable of destroying an entire city, and Kieran's old enemy, the wizard Relos Var. Janelle believes that Relos Var possesses one of the most powerful artifacts in the world, the cornerstone called the Name of All Things. And if Janelle is right, then there may be nothing in the world that can stop Relos Var from getting what he wants, and that is Kieran Zaman. So we have that. So I'm going to put this here. And as you guys can see, I have book 1 here, which is The Ruin of Kings. Book 2 is The Name of All Things. And book 3 recently came out August 25th. And it is The Memory of Lost Souls, which I'm currently reading. And I am loving it. But I'm going to talk about this book. I'm going to do this book review how to do the first one using the call pile system. If you don't know what that is, click the eye to go to that video. It's a system that G from the Book Rose created, and it is such a phenomenal system. It is like a 7-category system where you do everything. Each category is rated from 1 through 10, and then you divide the number by 7 to get your basic 5-star rating system. Hopefully that makes sense. So I did rate everything from 1 through 10, and I will be using my little notebook. I have a notebook now where I jot down some basic thoughts because I don't want this video to be super long or, you know, too spoilery. So we are going to start this off with the writing, and I'm always going to talk about the writing first because I think that's essential to any book is the writing. And for me, I gave the writing a 9. I adore the way Jenn Lyons writes. Her writing is very flawless, it's very seamless, it's smooth, it's easy to take, it's easy to really just dive into the world and the story because of how she articulates and describes things. And I feel like her writing is just on par with Brandon Sanderson. At least for me, I have read a few Brandon Sanderson books, and I feel like her writing is right up there. Not as top-notch, but definitely up there close to his writing. As far as how her story writing can be, it can be polarizing for some people. And what I mean by that is she definitely uses footnotes in her book. So if you're not a fan of footnotes, like how Nevernight had footnotes, you might not like this because there are footnotes included, and you do need to read the footnotes to understand more context of what is going on. But this book is told in 4 different POVs. The first POV for the sequel is going to be Janelle. Then you have Brother Cone, who is another character. You have I believe it's the footnotes, and the footnotes are written by Sinray. I think that's how you say her name, is Sinray. And then you have just the regular point of view of the character. So it's kind of like 4 POVs. It can be a little confusing, but because she writes it so well and melds it together, it's easy to get into. And her storylines are never linear. And when I mean linear, I mean it doesn't start from like point A to point Z. No, she starts at like point C, goes to point A, and then maybe point B to get all the way to point Z. And it sounds confusing, but her use, it's hard to explain because the way she writes it is so amazing. Now, I feel like if another author tried to write it that way, it would be very confusing. And what I mean is that when you're reading the story is being told from Janelle and Brother Cone, and they are retelling the events that happened during book 1, but from their perspective. So they have to go back, you know, years and months, but they're also telling it from the present time. So there's like breaks in between the stories with them flipping, and then you have Sinray's, I believe that's how you say her name, is Sinray. You have her footnotes and her thoughts throughout the stories. So it can be a little confusing, and it sounds confusing as I'm explaining it, but I'm telling you guys, read book 1 and you will definitely see how seamless it is. And as far as themes within the sequel, there are talks of sexuality, slavery, gender, and racism, which I think were so well done. The way she took these topics and these different themes and wrote them into the story and made them understandable as well as interesting enough to continue on, and she used it also for political gains within the different kind of races, was on point, just on point for me. So writing, like I said, was a 9. Moving on to characters. Now, characters for this, I gave it a 7. I enjoyed Janelle. Janelle is a Jortis girl, and she is sort of a demon child, is what they call her. She's human, but she's also supposed to be the child of a demon, and it's explained further in this book about her, but she is mentioned in book 1. This book, you get more of who she is and her side of things. So I love Janelle. Janelle was my favorite. Kieran is still my little pudding pie. We love Kieran. We love Teraith. Teraith is great. He wasn't as prominent in the story until towards the end, but we still love Teraith because it was mentioned of Teraith in his past. Who else is there? There's Brother Cone, I think that is, and he is a sort of priest that has always been the best friend of Janelle. You have Relosvar, which I did enjoy Relosvar in this book because we got to see more of his side of things and where his mindset was, because my biggest thing with book 1 is that I felt like there was information missing, and with book 2 you didn't really get to follow Kieran until the end. You got more of Janelle and Relosvar's side of the story, which helped me understand things a little bit more. So Relosvar was amazing. He's still a douchebag to me, but he's amazing. You still have the gods, but you also get mention of another one of the gods, Korrid, I think his name is, but Korrid is tied to something else, so it was interesting to see that. You get a new character named Rigga, and you also get a new character of Sinray. You have Dorna, you have Sir Orith, I think that's how your name is, Javon, I think that's how you say her name, Javon, Duquesne. You have Sulis, the Witch Queen, and then you have, of course, Darzan, which Darzan Damone is mentioned in book 1. If you guys don't know who he is, Darzan Damone is the brother of Kieran Damone and the son of Theron Damone, and he is annoying. Annoying, but you got to see a little bit more of him as far as his interaction with Janelle goes. You have Thurvashar, which we love Thurvashar. Thurvashar is a character that I like and I don't like, because there are certain things he did in book 1 that I couldn't stand, but reading book 2 I understood his position a little bit more. So yeah, and you also get mention of 3 new dragons. Now this book does have dragons, which I love, and like they're actual dragons. They take, like, they have actual parts, they have conversations and battles. There are mention of 3 new dragons, but you really get to see 2 of those dragons, which I love these dragons because these dragons are awesome. In book 1 you do get to meet one of the dragons named Sharonikal, and he was a fire dragon. In this one you meet Ironeric. Her name was on the screen. I can never pronounce these names because these names are complex, but she is like the ice dragon. And then you also get to meet the war dragon. Dope dragons. There is mention of another dragon, but he gets more of a play, I believe, in the 3rd book because I'm reading about him now. But I gave the characters a 7 because I honestly wasn't hooked on most of them. I love the ones mentioned from book 1, like Janelle and Kieran and Teraith and the gods, and Thurvashar and Durzan and Relosvar. But the new characters I just wasn't caring about, honestly. There's Nina. Her name is Nineveh, but they call her Nina for short, and a bunch of other characters that I didn't care for. And I think it's because of the location where this book went. So then I'm going to move on to atmosphere. As far as atmosphere, I gave it an 8. I love that we were now in Jorat, and we got to see a little bit of Joratese people are very different in that they have, so there's man and woman, but they also have this concept of mare and stallion. And a woman can be a stallion and a man can be a mare. And it sounds so weird, but when you get the breakdown of everything within the story and understanding what stallion and mare are, you tend to see that your sex and your gender for them, or your sexuality, are like 2 different things. And finding out what Janelle called herself and learning more about her and her sexuality was really interesting. I love Janelle. Janelle and Kieran are like my 2 favorite characters ever in this entire series. The magic system was a little bit more explained. I liked how they tied the cornerstones to the dragons, and learning about that was interesting for me. It's very imaginative, this world. You can actually like visualize and see things. So when she was talking about the jungle, and when they were in, I don't know if it's like, I'm gonna call it the Iceland Iceland, because it's pretty much like a cold wintry location. So when they were there, I was like picturing all of these things, so I loved that. And yeah, you were basically in Jorat and in a city called Atrini, I believe is what it's called, the entire time. So for atmosphere, I gave it an 8. Now plot, I gave it a 7, because as much as I enjoyed the story, again, the characters pissed me off and I just was getting irritated with it. And what I mean by that is this one is solely focused on Janelle, and for me, I love Kieran. Now Kieran is in the story again, but you're focusing more so on the side with Janelle and Relosvar and all the stuff that happened on the other side of Core, while Kieran was doing the stupid stuff that he was doing in book 1. So you're getting those missing pieces, but at the same time, I'm just like, getting to know all the other nobles did nothing for me. I didn't care about them. And then with the whole body switching, soul swapping bodies thing, it got a little like, why? It was a little bit irritating for me, because within the story there is this artifact that allows you to switch bodies when someone tries to kill you. So if someone tries to kill you and you have the Stone of Shackles, then you swap bodies with them or something along those lines. It's confusing, so you really never know who is who. And there was just unnecessary things that took place, like with Darzin. I didn't care for Darzin and Sir Orth. Didn't care for them at all. The only things that interest me were Janelle telling her side of the story, Relosvar's point of view, like his side as well, and then learning about Brother Cone, I think that's how you say it. But everything else, I wasn't so totally sold on the plot. And there was more prophecies, of course, but this time, instead of the prophecies dealing with Karen, it was prophecies concerning Janelle. So there's something with Janelle and Karen that is very essential to these prophecies. I think it's the Devorian prophecies. It's on the screen, the right name. But there's something about them that is essential to Volkaroth. I think that's how you say his name, Volkaroth, being awakened. So yeah. Anything else I want to talk about? That was it. It was also really more slow paced than Kieran's story. Like, Kieran's story was definitely like, okay, fast paced, great pacing. With Janelle's story, it was definitely a little bit more slow paced until you got to the end, because Janelle had to recount some things that happened over those 4 years that we spent with Karen. And yeah, it wasn't 100% gripping me like book 1, which is why I gave plot a 7. As far as intrigue, I gave it an 8. I was definitely interested all the way. Logic, I gave it a 9. Things that I thought didn't make sense in book 1 now made sense in book 2, so I gave it a 9. And my enjoyment is thoroughly a 10. So for this, it is basically a 4.25 star rating for me, which is basically just going to be a 4-star rating, excuse me. But yeah, I enjoyed this book. There are some things I definitely want to gush about, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want these videos to be spoilery. I definitely want to give you enough information to get you interested in the series. The Name of All Things is amazing. One thing I really love is how Jenn ties her book titles into the stories. When it came to the title for the Ruin of Kings, you really understand what that is. Concerning the prophecies towards the end of the story, and with The Name of All Things, you find out what that is because it has to do with one of the artifacts. And I like that the artifacts are tied to all of the dragons. There was a reveal that I was not prepared for, because there are not 8 dragons but 9 dragons, and the cornerstones, the dragons, and the gods are all related. They are all meshed. There are 9 of each, and that's not really a spoiler, honestly. So knowing that is not a spoiler, how they're connected is very much interesting, and I'm not going to get into that because that, if I tell you, is a spoiler. But I think the writing is amazing. The story was amazing. That's why I gave it a 4 stars. It's not my favorite because, again, I am more so on Team Karen than anything, but Janelle made this story so much fun to read. Like I said, I'm currently reading book 3, and just, can we just, wow, just wow. I get my Karen, I get Teraith, and I get Janelle, and it's looking real good. So that is pretty much it for this review. I definitely suggest you guys pick it up. And if you haven't read book 1, definitely get your hands on a copy of The Ruin of Kings, because it is phenomenal. Like I said, it's going to be a 5-book series, so they're at book 3 right now, and she pretty much gets these published, I think, every 6 months or so, or something like that, because if I'm not mistaken, both of these were published in the same year. If I'm not mistaken, I'll put on the screen exactly when they were published, but I know for a fact this one, Memory of Souls, just came out August 25th, and I'm excited for book 4. I don't know what the name is going to be for book 4, but I'm excited to see what happens. I do plan to finish this book up tonight, actually, because it is so addictive. It is a very addictive read, and you get hooked from page 1 to the end. And it's like she throws plot twist on top of plot twist on top of plot twist. Like, you're never gonna have a dull moment reading. And because they are such comedic characters, even when things get serious, there's always that time for laughter. And one thing to mention is that with book 1, Karen is very much childish. Karen, I believe, is about 21 years old at the start of book 2. He was 15 going on 16 when book 1 started. So 4 years. He's about 21 at the start of book 2. I'm not sure how old Janelle is. Probably about the same age. But you can definitely see the difference between how Janelle carries herself and how Karen carries himself. Karen is very much childish, very playful, and very comedic. Janelle is straight up like she's grown, she's mature, and she says what's on her mind. And I love the way they mesh together. And then you add Terath in there. I'm a happy camper. So I definitely will have a review for book 3 coming once I am done with it, because I am such an avid supporter of this series. This series is bomb.com. I do want to take the time to say thank you to Tor Books for even sending me copies. I actually was on the launch team for, not the launch team, the review team for the arc of The Ruin of Kings, and actually, let me grab my copy. Okay, so like I said, when it first came out, I did get an art copy of The Ruin of King from Tor Books, which I was so grateful for. And then they recently decided that they wanted to have a blog tour for the 3rd book. So with that, you could request finished copies of book 1 and 2, which I definitely did, because I enjoyed the arc that I had, of course, when I first got it. So I want to thank them so much for sending me an arc a year ago, and for sending me finished copies of the entire, you know, the first 3 books. I'm not gonna say the entire series because still 2 books left to go, but I definitely want to say thank you to them, and to Jean Book Nerd. Jean is phenomenal. You guys have heard me talk about Jean so much from her Jean Book Nerd Storytellers box. She is hosting the tour for Tor Books, so I am grateful for both her and Tor Books for sending me copies of these books. They're just phenomenal, great epic fantasies, and just so comedic. So that is it for this video. Sorry if this video was super long. I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say. I will leave a link to my Goodreads review as well as my blog review down below, because I feel like verbalizing reviews is a little bit more complicated for me. So if you have any suggestions on how I should do my reviews, or if I should keep to this system, please let me know. If you like longer reviews or shorter reviews, if you don't mind spoilers, or if you want 2 separate videos where one is a non-spoiler and one is a spoiler, I don't know. Let me know how you want me to do reviews. I'm still trying to get my system perfected and down packed. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, reading, commenting, subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!